Hello everyone, welcome to my full stack banking application presentation. My name is Nick. Today I'll be walking you through my banking app known as Bad Bank that I developed as my capstone assignment for my programming course with MIT xPro. This will be one of 3 videos where I break down each aspect of the app and the functionality behind it, basically just explaining the code structures of everything. Before we dive in real quick, I just want to explain a little more about the idea of this project and why it's called Bad Bank. So the reason it's called Bad Bank is because it's a general banking app. You can log in, deposit, withdraw, but the reason it's a bad bank is because it has no security, meaning that a user can log in and they see all the information of the previous user. That includes their transactions, their login information, and their balance. So basically, once you make an account, your information is compromised and there's no security. It's not a bank you should use in the real world at all. Very fun project. I definitely enjoyed it. I learned a lot from it. I'm very new to coding. This very new realm to me, but I learned a lot. It was challenging in all the right ways. So with that being said, let's dive right in. So in part 1, this is what we're going to be covering. It's going to be the front-end architecture, authentication, and a visual representation of the code structures and their relationship between each other. That's going to be represented as an app diagram. So this app was built as a React.js app using a RESTful API to communicate with the DAL, otherwise known as a data abstraction layer, and all this was built upon Node.js. So this project mostly consists of 2 main folders, the client and the server folder. The client is basically the front end, what we're going to be focusing on in this video, and what the client folder consists of is everything the user interacts with, everything they see on the page, from the navigation bar at the top, the create and login forms, their deposit forms, basically everything they're going to be clicking and typing into. It's going to be the whole user interaction. And the server is just the back end. It's everything that holds it together, the database, and what is the server that connects the front end with the back end, basically. We won't cover that in this video, but yeah, there's going to be those 2 folders for this entire project. This is a list of all the navbar items that are inside that client folder. Again, this is going to be at the very top of the page, everything that the user sees and interacts with. This is how they navigate through the site. This here is a list of all the components within that client folder, which includes the navigation bar and not only the nav bar items, but like I said, the functionality of each form. So being able to type into a text field and actually submit something. This is all the code that makes the nav bar run. Below that, you just have the additional files that React creates when you initially create a React app. That includes app.js, index.js, mcode client.js is separate from the React components. But then the other 2 remaining files are just for testing and performance metrics. We won't get into that too much. Now for authentication, I kept it very simple. I didn't add any other forms of authentication, mostly just email and password. But basically, once the user logs in, once they create an account, that information is then stored so that when they log in and they type in that information, it refers back to that stored information and logs them in. It seems kind of obvious because whenever you make an account, you log in and your account exists, so you log in. But that was something that was made clear to me that doesn't just work automatically. You have to store their data so that when the user types in that information, it means something. It takes them to their page. So yeah, that was something that I learned from my previous front-end project. Again, server-side email and password authentication are handled in the back end. Basically, we have authentication in the front end. The authentication I have in the front end is basically just verification that they do have an account, basic requirements that you have in text fields, like your password must be 8 characters, it must be a valid email, that type of authentication. Whereas the backend is what I had just mentioned, where we actually store their exact information so that they can successfully log in. And then this is going to be the visual representation of the code structure and the relationships between them. I'll break them down real quick. So at the top you have the nav bar, like I mentioned, represents the navigation bar and contains links to different functionalities and displays the logged in username. The routes right below it manages different paths and maps them to specific components and directs the users to the corresponding component. So basically it just points them in the right direction. When a user clicks a navbar item, the route then points the user and takes them to that page. Right below are the components, which again are basically the navbar items, but not just the navbar items, but the code that makes it run. What makes the text fields run, what makes a successful deposit. It allows them to basically type in information, click a submit button, and it actually do something. And then lastly, we have context, which sits at the core of the application. Basically, it stores shared state and provides data and functions to all of the components. It basically controls the application's global state. And I think that's it for this video. That wraps up part 1 of 3 videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stick around for the next one and we'll get into APIs and data abstraction layers. Thank you so much.